All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Ben Demers. I'm a senior planner with the Economic Development Division of the City of Somerville. And I welcome you to the March 26th, 2025 meeting of the Winter Hill Urban Renewal Plan Civic Advisory Committee. I'm going to start sharing my screen. Can everyone see the slides?
Yes.
Great. So just to run through a couple quick items at the beginning of the meeting. So this meeting is being hosted using Zoom webinar, which is what the city generally uses for virtual meetings. Just a couple of notes about that. This call is being recorded. So just to keep in mind that this recording will be posted to the city website following the meeting. So any questions or comments are a part of the public record. And then I will also note that because of open meeting law, which is state guidance around hosting virtual meetings, which does not allow for what is called side conversation. The chat function within Zoom has been disabled. So if you would like to make a comment this evening, actually, I'm noticing that the chat function might be operating. We are not meant to be using the chat function. So if you have any questions this evening, please just use the raise your hand function. Even for members of the public, we generally will try to prioritize members of the CAC asking questions, but we always have time also for members of the public if you would like to ask anything. I'm going to run us through our agenda for this evening. So we will start with a roll call of members and an approval of the previous meeting summary, which I sent out prior to the meeting. We then have two development updates for this evening. So for one, we will have a development update on 299 Broadway, so the general large development within the Winter Hill Urban Renewal Plan. So we have representatives here from Mark Development, Beacon Communities, and Samuels and Associates on that item. We then will have a development update for 14 Sewell Street. So this is a project that people might have heard about in a more conceptual sense, but starting to get some more details. So we have members of the Somerville Community Land Trust and also Habitat for Humanity's Greater Boston branch who will be presenting today. And then we will have some time afterwards for neighborhood updates from Civic Advisory Committee members. So anything you want to make sure your neighbors are hearing about, and then a public comment period before we adjourn. Sorry for the numbering being off on this. It'll be correct in the slides. And as I noted, for both of these development updates, we'll have time for questions from CAC members, but then we'll also make some time for members of the public to ask any questions. I'm just going to check really quickly. So we do have 4 members of the public in attendance this evening, so that is great to see. To quickly do attendance, let me just pull that up. So as I read members' names, please just say yes if you're in attendance. Breck Bailey.
Yes.
Breck. Councillor Klingon and Councillor Wilson, as we mentioned, are not here. Ani.
Hi there. Sorry.
Colby.
Here.
What did you say?
I just said Denise.
Oh,
Just to confirm
so
if you're
here.
here.
Yeah.
Perfect. Arthur. I believe I saw Arthur in.
I said yes. I think my audio just didn't go through.
I knew I had seen your face. Renee.
Here.
Thank you. Nick, I believe, is not here this evening. Let me make sure that is still the case. Yes, I do not see him. Adrian Roman, I have also not seen on yet. All right, I can send him a message afterwards. And then Raymond.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. And I had shared a copy of the meeting summary from the previous meeting, along with the agenda for this meeting. In general, did CAC members have any comments, or can I get a general, yes, things looked good from members?
I'm good with it.
Same,
It's
also
fun.
good.
I'm good.
It's all around. Okay, so I will post that along with the meeting materials for the previous meeting on the city's website. All right, and I'm going to shift us back to sharing screen. Okay, so the first update that I mentioned for this evening is a development update on 299 Broadway. When we last met in December about this item, the team was just preparing to return to the ZBA with a couple of changes that we talked through in that project to kind of get everyone familiar with. Everyone's been very hard at work over the last 3 months preparing other parts of the project. Obviously, just wanted to make sure that we're getting back together at least quarterly to answer any questions that people are having, hear about any changes that might be happening with the project. So I'm going to pass things over to the development team. Figure we could start with just a round of introductions for anyone that might be new, and then can kind of dive into the full development update.
All right, but why don't I start off? That I'm Scott Lombardi with Mark Development. We're one of the developers on Building B.
Okay, Robert Corf, Principal Mark Development for Building B.
Hi, folks. Abe Menzen. I'm new to the project. Samuels and Associates has partnered with Mark Development, and we're really excited to be joining the project team and excited to see this project move forward.
And I'm Josh Cohen from Beacon Communities. We're responsible for Building A, the 115 units of affordable housing.
And I think when we met last December, Darcy was here on behalf of Beacon. So Darcy and Josh obviously work closely together. Darcy is no longer working as closely on this project, so you'll likely see Josh and then their colleague Leanne's face as well moving forward.
Yeah, I can add, Ben, when we started this effort with Robert and his team, Leanne and I were in most of these meetings, and then Leanne, she was out on parental leave. Darcy took over. Leanne is back, and so folks, the city should expect to see her, and she's out at a family obligation tonight. So I'm here.
Appreciate you making the time.
So,
Yeah.
Ben,
So
Ben, can I ask, there appears to be a lot of different faces or names here since we last met. So I want to be considerate to those who might not have complete familiarity with the project. To what extent would you like us to update? Should we be, describing this project, as though, the group doesn't have that much knowledge, or just kind of pick up where we might have left off?
yeah, so I think it's what we had talked about earlier is mostly just picking up where we left off since last December. And if there are any like updates about big thinking with the project, I think people would love to hear more about also the partnership with Samuels and Associates, given that Abe's joining the call, and just hearing a little bit more context for that, since that is a name and a face that they will start to see more.
Yep.
But I would assume a general level of familiarity for everyone on the call with the project.
Okay, all right. And I do see Ani, she's now a member. Ani?
Yes.
You're a member of, oh, great.
I am. Yes. Hi,
Oh,
Robert.
I know you, hi, how you doing? I know
Very well, thanks.
we don't have to start at the beginning for your benefit.
No, but very happy to be here.
All right. So listen, I'll start off by just clearing up if there's any confusion on the new player in this being Samuels. So frankly, this was 100% Mark Development venture. I've had discussions over the past several years exploring various joint venture opportunities with Samuels. They bring a lot of horsepower to any partnership. well-known, very established, and fully capable company on their own. And I think this is nothing but a positive for everybody involved. They bring just more expertise to the table that's simply going to be a great benefit to the project. And I thought this was a perfect opportunity to kick off our first venture and offered them a 50% partnership with myself, equal partnership. And they reviewed it, loved it, loved the fact, the whole creative aspect of the deal and bringing all this affordability to the table. And I hope you all share the same enthusiasm. But for us, it's a very exciting project and something, any company would be proud to have involvement in. So I'm speaking on behalf of Samuels. They jumped on the opportunity and, so far they've been adding a lot of value here, helping us get closer to the point where we can get shovels in the ground and things are moving along in a very positive way, at a high level without getting into exactly where we're at. So unless there are questions in regards to Samuels, I'll try to give you just a high level overview of where I think we are on this project as we march towards a groundbreaking. So any questions regarding Samuels coming into the fray here? Okay, good. All right, so in terms of where we're at, you know, consistent with the past, Beacon is ahead of us by a certain degree in designing the construction documents. They got a head start in front of us because it was a necessity for them to do so in order, to secure their funding from EOHLC, tax credits and the like. So in order to keep this on a reasonable timeline, they jumped in early with their construction documents, and I believe they're very close to the point where they could file for a building permit. We, on the other hand, as of the first week of March, we're at a 50% CD or construction document level. We received a new round of pricing, which was very helpful and allowed us to give us a comfort level to secure the actual budget at the 50% level, which then in turn has set us loose on putting together our entire capital stack with, on the equity side as well as the construction loan side. So that effort is, a few weeks, was kind of launched, so to speak, a few weeks ago after we got the 50% pricing. And, the initial feedback in the capital markets has been very strong. We haven't secured anything, but we have a lot of people, around the hoop, so to speak, very interested in underwriting this project, as we speak. So based on the initial feedback, we're very encouraged, but until that capital stack is secured, I can't give you, a definitive timeline, but our goal, our serious goal here is to be in a position to break ground at the same time Beacon is going to be in a position to break ground. And, Josh, is it fair to say, June, July-ish, that range is our overall goal as a partnership to proceed?
Absolutely.
So, we still got some wood to chop here on both sides of the equation, but, the city's been working very closely with us. It's been a true partnership all the way around, and we all know what's needed, to make this deal a reality, and we're all working together in the process to make this project real. And we're feeling very excited about it. We're getting close. So That's a very high level update, of course. Happy to get into, any specifics, specific questions anybody on this call may have. And Scott, have I omitted, or Abe as well, have I omitted anything that you think's important to disclose to the group here?
The only thing I would add, Robert, just so it doesn't catch anyone in this group by surprise, is that we are putting together our next insubstantial change request to go to the ZBA. It's not nearly as significant, I'll say, as the previous change request that were, ultimately insubstantial. This is more capturing the final design development changes, right? Final door locations, street locations, anything that's changed slightly since our last approval. So our goal is to get that in for the April 30th meeting of the ZBA.
Okay.
Josh, is there anything before we open to questions that you want to add on the Beacon side?
Just to echo what Robert said, we're on a parallel track working with the financing team on this effort, and look forward to breaking ground this year.
I think that,
Great.
we're
Thank you.
we're new here and just here to listen and just meet everybody. So I appreciate all the goodwill that's been built up over the years of everybody working together, and it's really an awesome project, and we're just excited to be part of it. And thanks for inviting us.
And I'll say in conclusion, it takes a village here on a deal like this, and we have come a long way, and I'll be damned, we're not going to fail. We have more work to do, but we've come too far to fail. So take comfort in that if you want this project, and I think we're all enthused about it. So any questions?
Give a
Quiet.
moment.
Quiet group. Honey, you don't have any questions.
I mean, I always have questions, but
Mm.
well, I guess the big question is in terms of timing, you're 50% documents, construction documents at the moment. So are things going to kind of be slow played a little bit until the zoning, that I know it's an insubstantial change, but are we going to have to wait for that process to
No,
be?
no, no. I'm sorry
Okay.
for not mentioning that. We're marching forward to 100%.
Yep.
Are you taking this to another level, Scott, for another round of pricing before you go to 100, or are you going right to 100?
So internally, we're calling it a 75% CD set, but it's the set that could be submitted for building permit, and that's due to us next month. So we're catching up quickly, Robert.
Yeah, we want to be in line and lockstep with Beacon. We don't want to hold them up. So, we're pushing forward.
Are there any other questions? Arthur.
I'm just curious, because it seems like at this point there's a lot of holdback just to finalize financing. Could you guys just explain that a little bit better so I have a better understanding of how that works?
Okay, so
Why don't I start, Robert?
excuse me?
Why
Please
don't I start just on the affordable housing side, and then you can.
Okay. Yeah.
So the the affordable housing deal that we're putting together for Building A involves a whole series of state as well as local funding sources. That's sort of the foundation for the financing team. But we then go and bring in a tax credit investor that's buying the tax credits that are issued through the state. And we're also bringing in mass housing to provide financing, another private lender that'll provide construction loan, construction period financing. And so the the sort of 90 days or so before a closing involve a huge amount of work generating all of the financing documents that those groups, primarily the tax credit investor and mass housing, that they need to close on a deal. They also enter into their full-blown pre-closing due diligence and underwriting. So while, all of the information is available and it's been around for a long time, they now go into overdrive, really, understanding all the nuances, reviewing all the documents, pulling in all of their consultants, for whatever, review of construction plans or other appraisals that they need as part of sort of going through their internal processes to get to a closing and send money into a deal. So this is sort of a intense series of months for us in pushing all these different financing pieces to work together, make sure they're all coordinated, get through all of their internal pre-committee and the investment committee and board processes, so that we can there's a single moment in time when we close and record probably more than a dozen documents, and get to tell our contractor, okay, you've got authorization to proceed. So it's sort of a climactic rubber meets the road few months to get to that next level and get us to a closing.
I think that's pretty typical of this industry in general. I mean, Josh's financing is more complex than the private side, but there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. It doesn't look like anything's happening because you don't see people at public meetings as much, but there's drawings being completed, there's pricing being put together, and then there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into closing any sort of loan or financing, similar to what Josh was discussing, due diligence, loan documentation, et cetera. So it doesn't mean that people aren't working or that things aren't happening. It's very much the case that we are all working incredibly hard and committed to the project.
Josh, is it any effect from the cuts in Washington affecting any of this, because it's assistance of any kind?
No. This one, the sources on this deal all derive from local and state resources that are not at risk right now, given what's going on, at HUD and at the federal level. And it looks like Ani has her hand up.
Hi, just a quick question. I don't know if this is premature, but I am curious, especially with Samuel's being part of the project now, if there are any prospects for retail at the space. Maybe it's a little early, but you were, maybe not so far away from being able to start thinking about potential tenants.
Maybe I can jump in and take that one. I apologize. Robert just called saying he got kicked off and isn't able to get back in, so I'll handle that one because the Mark development team to date has been running point on most of the retail conversations. I think the answer is it's still early, right? It's usually once we're under construction that we really pick up with potential leasing activity and interest. So we have ideas of what we'd like to see there. It's been presented all along that what we think would be good fits for that space, but no real specific names to share at this time. It's just a little bit premature.
I think our background is in retail, and we have an in-house retail leasing group. Our tendency is always to try to favor more interesting, kind of smaller, local, retail, at least to have that be a heavy part of the mix. And those are folks that really can't plan, as far ahead of time in terms of business planning. So we tend to, really get traction with leasing typically further into the project once it's, coming out of the ground, 18 months ahead of delivery, 12 months ahead of delivery, that sort of thing.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, are there any other questions for the 299 Broadway team? Obviously, we have a couple of months before that anticipated groundbreaking, so we'll be back for another conversation to check in. And then if CSC members have questions, you can always reach out to me and I can funnel those questions through to the development team. I do want to take a moment also, we have a few members of the public here, just to see if any members of the public have a question. I know one of these is Councilor Wilson's like otter bot to record, but we have a couple other members of the public. All right, I do not see any hands. Great. So yeah, if there are no other questions, I don't want to take up too much of people's time this evening. Scott, Abe, Josh, is there any final notes you want to add?
Thank you for all of your help and coordination along the way, Ben. It's been a team effort, and you and your group have been extremely helpful. So I appreciate you inviting us and helping usher the process behind the scenes almost every day for us to.
And I'll second that and say that the both the volunteer boards that we've worked with on this effort and everyone at the city of Somerville have just been like incredibly professional, thoughtful, creative, and helpful. And so it's really been like a privilege and an honor to get to work with everyone in Somerville on this effort. So thanks everyone, and we're really looking forward to getting this into the ground.
Agreed.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I can shift us into our next item, which is the development update for 14 Sewell Street. So a team that some of y'all might know separately, but we've had fewer conversations about in this particular space. But just to give a little bit of context to this, so obviously a lot of our conversations within the about implementation of the Winter Hill Urban Renewal Plan have focused on 299 Broadway, the development that we just heard about, and there is a portion of this, what is currently owned by that development partnership, which for a long time has been discussed as potential development for home ownership units. So we've been very excited to see the development partnership between the Somerville Community Land Trust and then also the Habitat for Humanity's Greater Boston team. So as this project starts to shape up, we're gonna be hearing more from this team, but wanted to use this time to introduce that team, have everyone introduce themselves, tell you a little bit more about what's in store. So I believe everyone is still on, and just want to make sure, because Robert got kicked off, that nobody else got kicked off. I see Ben, I see Andres. Do I still see Jim as well? I do still see Jim. Great. Great. Well, I think I can pass things over to the Land Trust and Habitat team.
Great. Thank you, Ben. And yeah, like Ben said, I'll just reiterate, we're treating this more as an introduction to us, and we have, a little bit of information about a proposed project, but there's not really a huge amount of detail on a development to review, but really just wanted to get a chance to let you all get to know us. I'll start just quickly with introductions. My name is Ben Baldwin. I'm the executive director at Somerville Community Land Trust. We're a local community organization and affordable housing developer. I'll show some more slides about that in just a minute. I'm also here with Andres Bueno. Andres, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, my name is Andres Bueno. I am the Community Engagement Manager for Somerville Community Land Trust. I'm excited to meet you all in person, hopefully one day, and looking forward to working with everyone as this project proceeds forward. So yeah, thanks, Ben. And
Thanks.
thanks for having us.
Thanks. And Jim, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure, Ben. Thank you. I'm Jim Costaris. I'm the president and CEO of Habitat for Humanity Greater Boston. I want to thank you for inviting us to this meeting and giving us an opportunity to introduce ourselves. We're really pleased to be working and partnering with the Somerville Community Land Trust. I also want to commend Mark Development and Beacon Communities for the project on Broadway. It's not easy building affordable housing or any housing right now in this current market, and I think it's really to their credit that they're going forward with this exciting project.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, very exciting to see something happen on that site. So we've prepared thank you, Jim. We've prepared a presentation, and without further ado, I can get started. Jim, just to let you know, I did incorporate your slides into
Oh, you
what I
did?
have,
Good.
but I could let you take over if you like.
Yeah, I might do that, Ben, only because I can control the
Sure.
slide. That's okay. Yeah.
Ben Demers, it looks like I am not able to share. Oh, there we go.
I just updated it. Yep.
Great, thank you. So yes, thank you. Hi, everybody. Just wanted to introduce Somerville Community Land Trust quickly. And so folks have a little bit more of a sense of where we're coming from. If you aren't already familiar with us, we are an independent, community-based nonprofit that has a mission to build community power and stability in Somerville by acquiring residences and land and making them permanently affordable. We have a relatively short history here of putting this work together, but we've accomplished a lot. So we really got started as a working group in 2018 and kicked off a couple of years of purely volunteer organizing. I was at that first meeting just as a Somerville resident and sort of was one of a handful of volunteer leaders in the next couple of years. Through COVID and everything, we eventually incorporated as a 501c3 in 2019, went through some strategic planning processes and community feedback processes before hiring our first staff and acquiring our first property in 2022. In 2023, we actually had our first residence on Somerville Community Land Trust and had our first board of directors election. We have a democratically elected board, and I'll talk more about that. Last year was another big year for us. We hired Andres, our community engagement manager, and acquired 6 more homes. So our first property right now is 7 Summer Street, which we purchased in 2022, 5 income restricted condominiums. So this was a home ownership project, and the units were sold in 2023 to applicants via a lottery. This property is operational, so it's fully occupied, and it sits on land owned by Somerville Community Land Trust. And currently, 3 of the residents here sit on our board of directors. I'd like to just give a quick CLT 101 so people know how we do our work, how we keep housing affordable, and other uses as well sometimes. Community land trusts are almost always nonprofit, community-based organizations, and they really use land ownership and land stewardship as a vehicle to preserve affordability and stability. They have different functions in hot and cold markets. They can help build wealth for homeowners through shared equity and homeownership, and generally use public subsidy and private donations to create an affordable housing portfolio. I think there are over 300 now across the country. So you can see this map here is overwhelming, especially concentrated in the Northeast. So we're in good company. And this is just a quick diagram of how community land trusts work. we permanently own land. So in the case of 7 Summer Street, Somerville Community Land Trust owns and stewards the land underneath that building, and a 99-year ground lease ensures long-term affordability for the residents who own the units in the building that sits on top of the land. So this is the model that we use to preserve affordability. We have a mission of building affordable homeownership, and use this ground lease structure to maintain affordability. It can get a little complicated, but that's the quick and dirty. And then the structure of our organization is the organization is driven by a board of directors of 15 people, broken up into 3 categories. 1/3 of them are residents of Somerville Community Land Trust housing. So that's 5 CLT residents. 1/3 of them are Somerville residents. Just anyone living in Somerville can occupy that if they're elected. And then 1/3 are public interest representatives. That may be a business or public office or maybe another nonprofit in the area. And that board oversees myself and Andres, who work to build housing, engage members, engage residents. And we have actually annual board elections, so we will have some seats open in the winter for another election if anyone is interested. So without further ado, I'll pass it to Jim if you want to share your screen.
Sure.
I'll share mine.
Someone else's host isn't the okay. So let me share my screen. Let's see how it's going to go here. I don't even, what's going on here? Not even, sorry. Let's see. Huh.
Are you getting an error, Jim?
Yeah, no, it says open system settings. I don't even know. Let me try that. Okay. Let me try it one more time. And entire screen. I don't know what's going. Ben, I think we're going to have to resort to back to your PowerPoint.
No problem. Just give me a little heads up when I want to advance the slide.
Okay. Yeah, great. Okay. Habitat for Humanity Greater Boston. I want to just give you an overview, introduce you to the work we're doing in our organization. I know that many of you know something about Habitat for Humanity, but this is my opportunity to talk about it in a little bit more detail. Next. So what do we do? Well, our mission is to provide affordable housing opportunities, affordable homeownership opportunities in Greater Boston. We believe that homeownership is a way to help families break the cycle of poverty. And we also believe that by building homes that are affordable to low or lower income families, we're helping to build communities at the same time. So our vision is a world in which everyone has a decent place to live. This is the vision of Habitat for Humanity globally and throughout the United States. Next. So how do we do it? Well, we do it through the commitment of volunteers that come out and help build our homes. I think this is what this is what comes to mind when we talk about Habitat for Humanity. In Boston, about 70% of our 70% of the labor is volunteer labor. And, this is the model. This is what allows us to build at a lower cost than commercial builders. We do it through fundraising. We rely on the generosity of donors and philanthropic giving. We very recently have begun to supplement that with subsidies from the state, but by and large, We rely on generous donors. And then finally, we work with communities, as we will do in this case. And, the Community Land Trust's mission aligns very closely with what we do. Okay, next. So I'm going to quickly show you some of what we've done. The project on the left is in Roslindale. We don't build single-family homes. Most of what we build are, we build from 4 to 14 units on a site. On the right is a development we completed in Codman Square in Dorchester. Next. These are projects in the pipeline. The upper left is a project in Chelsea, 5 townhouses. To the right is a project under construction right now in Roslindale. These are 4 net zero energy passive house design homes. Lower left is one building in a development that we hope to start building in Weston. And then to the right is one building in a sort of scattered site development along Blue Hill Ave in Mattapan. Next. And this is a project in Jamaica Plain. I'm showing this because in a way, the neighborhood we're building in is not unlike your neighborhood, and the scale of development, I think, will be similar to what we and the Land Trust will be building on Sewell Street. Next. So an overview on Habitat. Since 1976, we've helped more than 29 million people build homes. Next. In 2019, I should update this. I should say in 2023, more than 1 million volunteers around the world have helped us build low-cost homes for low-income families. Next. And then finally, what I'm excited about is in this project, we are hoping to work with Somerville High School, the CTE program. That's a vocational ed program. We've had conversations with them. What I would love is to have students in the carpentry program and potentially other programs actually as part of their curriculum, actually helping to build these homes on Sewell Street. I think it'd be wonderful. These are kids from Somerville. They'll be helping to build homes in their own community as part of their CTE education. Next. Well, thank you. And we're ready to take any questions that you might have. By the way, these are some Habitat partner families. These are homes on Mission Hill. Wonderful people. I am inspired every day by the Habitat homeowners that we work with.
I just thank you, Jim. Yeah, that was great. I have a couple more slides talking about the site itself, and then I think it makes sense to open it up for questions. So great. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, so Habitat for Humanity Greater Boston we hope to be a great partner here on this project. Let's talk about the site itself. So hopefully people are familiar. I know this is your neighborhood. You should know it well, but we can walk through the location a little bit in case you forget. I know there's another asphalt lot on the same street, so sometimes it helps to identify which one it is. So around the right here, you see an image of the lot on, this might be from a couple years ago, but you can see it's this asphalt lot. It's the one that's further down Sewell Street that abuts to the rear there is currently abutting the Star Market building and the retaining wall there. In this image to the left, I think might be a dated rendering here, but it gives you a sense of where on Sewell Street it is. where it will sit compared with the new developments going in from Beacon Communities and Mark Development and Samuels. So this is the site. There is the other Sewell Street site that will be park space, I believe, that this sort of cuts off here. But this is the site we're talking about, and like I said, we're really hoping to just kind of introduce ourselves, but because we don't have a ton in terms of architectural drawings to present today. We're just not there yet. We have some more work to do we'll show you a timeline, and you'll see. We'll be happy to come back with more information as we get it. But we can say for now, we're committed to doing 100% affordable home ownership. Somerville CLT and Habitat are totally aligned on this. It's a perfect place for a small multifamily homeownership project, probably between 3 and 5 units. We share a desire between these two organizations for family-sized units, so 2 and 3 bedrooms. Really hoping to build at that level so we can accommodate families. And like Jim said, it would be a collaboration between Somerville CLT, Habitat for Humanity Boston, and the Somerville High Vocational Technical Program, which was just a really exciting group to bring together to create this affordable homeownership opportunity. The site itself, to get a little bit into the zoning detail, is here on Sewell Street, neighborhood residential zoning. Although it is currently technically part of the same parcel as 299 Broadway, it's this neighborhood residential zoning. And the site itself is relatively small, so 3,712 square feet. It's only 45 feet wide, so not enormous. And so but we're really excited to fit some housing on there. And it likely used to host a residential building, and over the years probably was demolished, but we're excited to bring that back. To give you just really, I want to say, a very rough timeline, so please don't mark your calendar with this yet. Sorry, I'm about to be interrupted by my daughter. We're looking here at spring 2025. The parcel itself will have to be subdivided before Somerville Community Land Trusts acquires the site, hopefully before the end of June of this year. At that point, and even now, really, we and Habitat for Humanity and you all, really, as the community, are beginning this project planning, design, and community engagement phase that will take, as long as it takes over the next couple of year or two to put together a project that works and that the community wants to see. And yeah. And so then we'll also spend the next couple of years working on project financing. This will take some fundraising, it'll take some public subsidy, but we know we can get there, and hopefully have the financing figured out and approved by 2027. Again, this is rough. This seems to be a realistic timeline for now. So once financing is approved, we could estimate to start construction by 2027, complete it by 2028, and hopefully have 3 to 5 new homeowners in place by 2028. Again, I'll just reiterate, this is a rough timeline where we don't have a full sense of what will be happening after 2025 just yet, given the financial environment. But we're excited to bring 3 to 5 new homeownership units to Sewell Street in the next few years. So with that, I'll thank you and welcome any questions from the group.
Great, thank you all. Ben, do you want to stop sharing screen so we can see faces a little easier?
Sure, yeah.
And then I can also start taking notes as people ask questions. Right. Renee.
Oh, hi. I just wanted to let you know, I've lived on Sewell Street since 1976. So if you want to know anything about Sewell Street in real detail, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Great. We should probably chat. Colby, you have your hand up?
Yeah, just had a question. So I know that there is this parcel, but then there was a second parcel as well further up the street. Just curious if that is still planned to be like a little pocket park or something.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
goal of that space, oh, sorry, Ben.
No, you go ahead. You know more.
Sure. So that parcel is being developed by the partnership between Beacon Communities, Mark Development, and now Samuels and Associates as well. And that is, as you mentioned, meant to be a pocket park. So that's what it was approved for in its comprehensive permit from the ZBA. So that is the intention for that space.
Great.
Any other questions from CSE members? And I know we have a couple.
I have
Public. Oh yeah, Denise, please.
I have a question. Yeah. So you mentioned that you don't know yet how many units, but might be between 3 to 5 units. What is the zone over there? How tall can be on that street, the building?
We believe that the by right zoning definitely allows for 3-unit, like triple decker. I don't know what the exact height is, but a kind of typical triple decker. And there may be an accessory dwelling unit allowed by right, or possibly, going through a zoning change process. It's really early to say. We're not committing to 5 units yet, but we may explore a little more.
I just want to mention about the height. Ben, I think it's fair to say we're talking about 3 stories, something compatible with what's in the neighborhood. We at Habitat, we rarely build anything more than 3 stories. In part because we can't have volunteers, climbing up and working on buildings larger than that. But more to the point, we're envisioning something that's going to be compatible in terms of height and scale with the neighborhood.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question. Thanks for the answer. But so since this is a small lot, thinking 3 to 5, thinking 5 units, what does that mean? It's gonna be just studio and bedrooms, 1 bedroom, or is gonna be for families, like 2, 3 bedrooms units?
Yeah, I think I can speak for Habitat and Somerville CLP when I say, yeah, we're definitely aiming for more bedrooms rather than more units. We have a lot of work to do in terms of studying the site and the what can fit on the site to figure out how to do that. But there are some ways to think about the site that could fit 5 units, but through more of a zoning process. And if we want to have a larger number of bedrooms, we'll probably end up sticking with a lower number of units, just because the site is small.
Yeah, I think we should be considered thinking about families, especially to buy properties. That's something we hear a lot, that they don't find the opportunity here in Somerville because it's so expensive. Yeah.
Denise, not only in Somerville, I mean, this is affordable family units
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the hardest thing to find in the market. Most of what we build are 3-bedroom, sometimes 4-bedroom units. We do build, we'll do some 2-bedroom units as well, but most of what we build are intended for larger households. And I think that's precisely what the land trust is envisioning. So
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you, guys.
yeah.
Thanks, Denise. Raymond, you got your hand up? Oh, you're muted.
Yep, I just noticed that. I was just curious, do you CLT Developments, is this independent of the 100 Homes project? Or are you doing any work alongside the 100 Homes project as well?
It is technically, yeah, it's independent of the 100 Homes project.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes, Renee.
Oh, on the street, most of the places are 2-bedroom because of the narrowness of the lots, and the houses that are on either side are 1 family. And they're 1 full floor and then a peaked 2nd floor. in terms of overall scale. Physically, as I'm also an interior designer, I don't think that that space can hold 5 and then accommodate families.
Yeah, we don't have an architect on the project yet, but they could tell you more. I know that one of the things that we're exploring is just the accessory dwelling unit opportunity, which does provide for like some smaller type units. And you know that, like I said, that's something that we're exploring. But yeah, I think you're right. It is a small site, and
Yeah,
going-
it is a particularly congested section there in terms of the overall size of the lots and the easements between the lots in terms of the neighbors and how close they are to the property lines. They were not very accommodating for the idea of land around people when they were putting all these in back at the turn of the 1900s. So it's part of the thing too, in terms of making it livable, is that you don't feel like you're only 4 feet away from your next door neighbor's windows. You know, you have to have a sense of breathing space between. And also from a fire hazard perspective, God forbid there's a fire next door. You know, you don't want something jumping.
Yeah, definitely noted. I know that the property next door, I think it's either 18 or 12 Sewell Street is basically built right up to the lot line. So there are setback requirements that we'll obviously be following the zoning requirements. So the setbacks, you know, we would have to follow that. Yeah, there are limitations. Even, you know, it's a small site, and then there are setbacks on top of that. So there are, yeah, indeed some
They
limitations.
also will need setbacks from the Beacon property above, you know, to them. So they need some breathing space there because that's going to be towering height
Mhm. Yeah.
as
Yep.
part of that. And just because this is for low income people doesn't mean that they have to feel like they're in a sardine can.
Yeah.
The nature of the city.
Yeah. Renee, I think your concerns are well noted and important. And, you know, when we have an architect on board, you know, we expect they'll be coming back to you and taking into account some of these concerns.
No, we're just glad it's finally going to be developed.
Mm, yeah.
Living on Sewell Street with those 2 lots that have been it's a thumbs down for 30 years.
Yeah.
Previous owner didn't take care of it at all.
Yeah.
Any other questions from CAC members or members of the public?
Ben, can I say one thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or
Um,
Demers.
we have a long way to go, but we're going to be looking for volunteers to come out and help build. So I'm putting it out there. I hope, you know, I hope people in the neighborhood, I hope we can entice you into coming out and spending a day hammering nails and putting up, you know, wallboard and laying down flooring for your new neighbors.
I would send notes out to the neighborhood because I do know that there are a number of people who are in the construction industry who live on
okay.
Grant Street, on
Yeah.
Sewell Street, and off of that whole section in there.
Oh, thank you, Renee. That's great. Skilled volunteers. That's even better. Yeah. Thank you very much. We're not there yet. You know, we're way off, but we're going to get there. And so thank you, Renee, for that suggestion.
Yeah, I'll say thanks again, Renee. It sounds like we should get in touch. I'll try to get your contact info from Ben.
Okay.
And I'll reinforce what Jim said and what you said when so Andres Bueno is on here, our community engagement manager, and we've been working really hard over the last year and a half to and really the last several years to just get our name out there, get Somerville Community Land Trust's name out there, make sure people know we're an organization that tries to represent the community and work with the community to build affordable housing that people want to see. And so we've been doing door knocking and canvassing campaigns through various neighborhoods around Somerville, and we'll continue to do so, especially as we're really always looking for volunteers to help support our organization, and we're really excited to set up something like a volunteer day when the construction begins to get the Somerville community involved.
Mhm.
We're helpful to have this introduction to the project. I know people are very excited to see this moving forward. As Ben and Jim mentioned, there will be more meetings on this project kind of as things firm up. Yeah, I think we're all very excited to see this. Well, thank you all for joining. We're gonna stick on with CAC members to just do any final updates, but just want to make sure there are no final questions. Actually, let me just pull up the participants tab to see attendees one final time. Yep, not seeing any hands from members of the public. Great. All right, well, thank you, Ben, Jim, Andres.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Cool.
you.
With that, I will shift us into the final item. Let me share screen again, which is neighborhood updates from CAC members. Sorry, I did a bad job updating numbering ahead of this. Does anyone have any updates that you would like to share with others here? Any events coming up or? This is often the counselors that end up using this space, so also no problem if no updates. And then I'll also just leave a final moment for any members of the public. I think we have one member of the public left. If there are any questions or comments that anyone would like to make. Yes. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Devin. I live on the corner of Grant and Sewell. This was really helpful and great to hear about the updates coming to the neighborhood. This is a silly question, but I was wondering if anyone knows what, if anything, is maybe interested in going into the old subway.
Silly questions. Devin, I apologize. There is like sort of a formal requirement with public comment around specific address. Are you comfortable sharing that?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, my address?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, 18 Grant Street.
Great. I personally, from city staff side, have not heard of any projects that are expressing or any other tenants that have expressed interest in that space. Does anyone else here, has anyone else heard anything?
Has anyone heard anything about where the dry cleaners was? Anything going in there?
I have not from staff side. I'm seeing heads shaking from CAC members. Counselors, sometimes these things often make it to their ears first. So next time they're on, we can maybe check in and see if they've heard anything about either of these spaces. Devin, do you have any other questions that you wanted to ask with the group?
No, that was it. This was really helpful. Thank you for the invitation to listen.
Definitely. Thank you for attending. That is the last item that I have this evening. So before we adjourn, I just want to give a final reminder. I've been hopefully asking this clearly in meetings ahead of time, and I know I've gotten a couple of questions, but if there are any kind of particular items or questions that CAC members want to make sure that we're discussing in these spaces. I know a couple of other topics have come up previously. There's been, we've been trying to make sure that we're keeping these to an hour and a half maximum. And so trying to make sure when there are development updates that we really dedicate the time, because I know sometimes those updates can produce a lot of questions. But if there are any other items that people want to make sure we're talking about over the next few meetings, please feel welcome to just send me an email and let me know. With that, I can shift to adjournment. Thank you everyone for attending this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Have a good night.